Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm gonna be messing around with what is, I think, commonly referred to as the UFO glitch. I've never actually really played around with this this feature, or bug or feature, I guess you can call it what you want. A lot of people use it though. It is a thing that exists in Trailmakers where you take one hover pad and you take another hover pad, and if you put them together so they are hover padding into each other, it has this weird effect on your vehicle, and I think this is actually going to be a great test vehicle for it. I really love this hovercraft that I built, which I actually, as of recording this video, I've just uploaded it to the workshop so that other people can play around with it too. But what I think is going to be really cool messing around with the hover pads is I think there's some functionality that they have that I would like to try to incorporate into something, you know, like this, but the hover pads are actually so big that I might just have to rebuild a whole new craft to accommodate them, because if we look at the hover pads, they're a pretty decent size here. So one of the things I wanted to try here, let me make some room for these things. I'm gonna probably build a new vehicle that utilizes these, that was like built with the intent of using these, and right now I'm just using this vehicle as my experimental guinea pig to see what I can even do. So if I have these things on a toggle, like number 2 here, my understanding is that they essentially dampen movement. Let me turn them off for now. I'm gonna turn on the thrust. So now watch what happens when I press number 1 to turn off my thrust. You can see we fall pretty hard out of the sky. So now I'm thinking, if I engage the hover pads and do the same thing, I should fall slower. Look at that landing. So this already, I can see a huge use for this. Basically, if you want to have a landing sequence that is nice and soft and easy to program, you just have your landing turn on the hover pad. So actually, you know what I could do for this thing at least? Press number 1 to turn them off. So now they're on by default, and then when I press number 1, it turns them off and turns on my thrust. And now when I want to land, I press number 1, and it toggles them on, and I come in for the softest landing. So already, great use for these things. Now, what about facing them in a different direction? So if I take these and I rotate them this way, now they should dampen my forward and back movement. So now my speed is on its own. Let's see how high I get up to. All right, looks like we're stabilizing around 135 to 138. So now I'm gonna hold the thrust on and press number 2 to activate these hover pads. And now you can see my speed slows down quite considerably, and the physics of my vehicle changes. So I'm doing this weird bobbing thing, and that's just probably the center of the force of the hover pads is probably just weird with my center of thrust. But here's the thing I'm more interested in about this. Now let's say I release the throttle. This is what happens. Got no more throttle going into this thing, and I'm just kind of gliding and very, very slowly slowing down as the aerodynamics just kind of slow me down on their own, the wind resistance. So now I'm going to go back up to max speed, and then when I release the thrust, I'm going to also turn on the hover pads. So here we go, we're at max speed, and then engage hover pads. And look at that. Now I am no longer moving. So I think this UFO glitch hover pad thing is great for speed stabilization when it comes to any type of drifty kind of vehicle. Because if I just want to stop floating in a certain direction without having to manually like brake and then wait for the right moment. Actually, I timed that pretty well, but I could have like overdone it, and now I'm going backwards, and then I got to keep going like back and forth and try to like dial it in. But now, click of a button, and I'm stabilized. You know what's even a better vehicle to try this out with? This thing right here. Because this thing has a single thruster, and it is very floaty. So if I'm going in this direction, and then I go to turn, you can see I am I just kind of float in that one direction until I manually change directions. So let me try something here. So here we go. I've added a couple. I can turn them on and off. So I want to see, these should stabilize horizontal drift. I don't know about how that's going to affect me going in an axis that they're not facing. So if I go forward, let's see, I have them off right now. I just want to see what is it like to go in this direction without them. All right, looks like we're stabilizing a bit around here, around 85 or so. All right, now I'm gonna turn them on. Oh, I really thought they were going to slow me down, but I think it only slows you down in the axis that they're on. So now, all right, here we go. Now I'm gonna turn to the left and then look at that sideways drift. Like that is a lot of drift. So now I wanna see what happens if I turn these on. Whoa, if I turn these on and then I turn left, that was the coolest thing ever. I've never actually used this before. That was so smooth, but somehow it also kind of like, it overrode my altitude stabilization. All right, so I'm gonna turn to the right now. This is so cool. This is like Quantum Rudder 2.0. Even though this existed before the Quantum Rudders, this essentially does what a quantum rudder is supposed to do, but like just perfection. Like there's no float whatsoever. So this is how people create some of those crazy control. Like this feels so stable to fly around. Like just look at this, and I'm gonna turn it off. Ready? It's off. And now look at me turn. Look, I can't do it. It is so much better with these things. I have just been won over so hard. Oh my goodness. So now, oh my, all right, I got, there, this thing can be improved so much. So now I'm gonna add some to the back as well, because there's another thing I wanna do with it. All right, so I hope this works the way I think it's gonna work, but if I use an OR logic gate and I put both of these, so like W and S onto these things, are both of those gonna send a positive output? Because that should be the way that it works. So W, good. Oh wait, I gotta turn toggle off. No more toggle, no more of that. All right, so W, S. Oh, that is perfect. That was so easy. All right, so now I am stabilized in all of the axes on a horizontal plane. I will not strafe sideways unless I wanted to. Okay, there's another thing that needs to happen here. Another control that needs to happen. So I'm gonna take another OR gate, and this is going to be for my strafing controls. So Q or E are gonna send a positive output to these and these. This is awesome. This is gonna like improve so much controllability. All right, so now I should be able to strafe. If I press Q, look at that, we're strafing. And then that's a little weird, only because they are not centered in my center of mass. All right, so, but anyway, the thing I wanted to do was, you saw when I stopped pressing forward, I would just keep going forward. But now, when I stop pressing forward, I will stop. So I will only go forward when I want to go forward. And then it has an auto braking system to just stabilize itself. Because I remember when I initially built this, one of the things that was on my mind, but I had already spent so much time building, programming everything else that I was like, I don't even know if it's not worth the time invested. But I wanted to program it to do exactly this using the thrust vectoring. So then it would have a speed sensor in every axis of direction. And then when you stopped pressing the button to go forward, it would then use those speed sensors to then automatically adjust the thruster. But with this, I don't have to do it. It does it automatically. And I believe I still have, like, it's not impeding my speed at all. And look at this, I can still do the turning thing. I love how it rolls in, I don't know, like, it rolls into the turn by itself. It looks so immersive and so realistic, but that just happened on its own. So this is one of those personal preference things. Like, you might want to put an input in, and then if you release it, you might want to just cruise at that speed. But with this, it's an auto brake. So you could have it on a toggle as well, so that you can activate when you want or don't want it to auto brake. But I will say that this aspect of it is amazing. So now let me see a little bit here, because right now if I try to strafe, my center of mass isn't perfect. I added that weight to the back, which ruins the perfect strafe. But then as soon as I stop, that happens. Let me see. My center of mass is like right there. These are 14 kilograms each. So I'm gonna try to bring the center of mass. I'm just doing experiments. I'm not permanent. Like, this isn't like gonna be the new vehicle, I don't think. This is also uploaded to the workshop in its previous state, by the way. But I'm gonna add a weight. We need, I formally request more robust, heavy weight block options. 30 and 50 kilograms is great, but sometimes we need just a little bit more fine tuning. Some small blocks that add a decent amount of weight. So like, maybe like a 10 and a 20 or a 5. So add a 30 kilogram there. That actually looks pretty good almost already. Maybe right there. Yeah, that looks good. So now I gotta move these so that they are also in line, which right there looks perfect. All right, let's see if that has helped the strafing. So now I should strafe, yeah, way more in line. And then if I stop, oh, look at that. Yeah, we just had to have it aligned with our center. That looks great. And it feels like it's almost thrust vectoring. And that is actually because it is above my center. Those are above my center of mass, but that actually gives it an immersive feel because it twists the thrust over in the direction it would go if we wanted to slow down. So that is kind of awesome. This, I'd like, oh man, this is kind of like, do I want this to be the new version? Like, I might save this. I might paint it up a little bit to incorporate these hover pads and save it. Oh, see, that is the weird thing right there. That is weird how that happens. Hold on, I gotta test this out now. Wait, oh, this is different now. Oh, this behaves different because now it is actually at my center. This is way weirder. This is it was much more stable when they were at the back. Yep. This is hard. So if I just gun it to the left, I can just spin in place. I don't like that. But when I move these back, and now if I just book it to the left, like, look at that difference. This feels way better. Oh, these are more nuanced than I was expecting. Let me move them forward just a little bit now. So just one block forward. And see, now I have even sharper turning. This is like the sweet spot right here, just behind the center of mass. Yeah, so center of mass is right there, and the edge of the hover blocks are just behind the center of mass. That seems to be a really good point for this vehicle to have nice turning. But it does ruin the strafing though, because now when I stop strafing, that happens. Ooh, I thought of a brilliant idea. Okay. All right, this will be interesting. So this is where I want them to sit when I am stationary. Okay. All right, this could work. This could work. I'm seeing it. All right, so if you can't tell now, my plan is they're gonna sit here when you're stationary. And the plan is when you start going forward, once you reach a certain speed threshold, these pistons will pull them back. So then you can do your nice controlled steering. And then when you slow down enough, like strafing, you're only really gonna strafe sideways when you're not going forward or backwards very much. I think this should work in theory. I think this should work. All right, so I'm gonna stick a speed sensor in here and I'm gonna say like, I don't know, 5 kilometers an hour is going to output to the pistons, and their speed is going to be negative because I want them to contract. So let's see if this works now. All right, so we go forward. They are not contracting. Output 1, output -1. How about that? There we go. Okay, so that's too far because look at how wide my turning radius is. So now what I can do is change the output of the speed sensor to be like -0.8. Where does that go? Wait, what? Why is that full contraction? All right, output -0.2. That is still a full contraction. What am I getting wrong here? Let me change the speed of these. They're not on toggle. Oh, auto reset maybe? All right, and then if we're not going, all right, so now they're working as far as they're going back in the direction that they should be going, but they're going 100%. Why are they going 100%? How do I get them to contract a fraction of their normal contraction? Maybe I need a logic block to send the signal instead of a speed sensor. Nope. The logic block does the same thing. Am I wrong here? Like, is there not a way to contract the pistons at a fraction of their length? Okay, you need the start position to affect things. I see. All right, I think I figured it out. I had to switch the speed sensor to be the reverse where it triggers below the speed. So now what happens is by default, the pistons, they do a weird thing at the start because they are programmed to start at half their length. So now when I do go forward, now they retract to half their length. So now you can see I have a nice rotation. That might actually, is this too sharp? It's too sharp. Okay, that's fine now because now I can adjust the piston length 25% of their full position. All right, so now they will go down to there when I start going forward. So now my turning, this is pretty decent turning here. And I can now just adjust my turning radius. So this is stable. I can hold the turning and things don't get weird. And now when I stop, they will return. So now I can do strafing and then not have the weird strafing artifacts where I turn too much. Look at that. Now I can go forward again. This is great. This is so great. Okay, so now I want to try to just make a little I want to make a little adjustment to the steering. I'll go from 0.25 to 0.4. And now this should make me turn sharper. And yes. Oh, yes. I can turn so much sharper now. See, the thing with when I turn sharper, I end up losing some altitude during the turn as well. So I think... The speed sensor is on 0. I'm actually surprised then that it lets me fall. Oh, there's something interesting. When I turn sharp, even a maximum thrust coming out of this isn't enough to keep me up in the air. I wonder if that's just how much I weigh now. So I literally just can't turn too much. That is a little bit disappointing. All right, I'm gonna try something here to help that. I'm basically now optimizing this for its new functionality. I'm gonna use gimbal thrusters to just offset some of the weight. And I'm just gonna have them triggered by the altitude sensor, so they're going to be always on. There we go. Now let's see if I can turn without losing altitude, now that I have those in there. All right, ready, turn. We are losing out. Oh, wait, no, okay. I can still, now I can actually gain altitude though. This is great. Oh, this is way better. Look at how much better this is. All right. Now, let's just bump up the aesthetics a little bit of this thing, incorporating these, and I think we've got a hugely improved vehicle using this UFO glitch thing. This is, like, now that I understand what this is and how it works, it's gonna come in handy. It is definitely gonna come in handy. All right, I finished painting this thing up, and I even like added some weapons. They kind of look like big claws on the sides now, and then when I start going, the claws kind of recede as I go forward, which I think is kind of cool. And then when I stop, they return back to their position. And I did test out, it does work fine. Even with all the added pieces and everything. I still turn fine, I still keep my altitude and elevation. And now I am just so much more controllable. And just everything works great. And then you can see I got the strafing still works. And the stopping also works great on this thing. Yeah, I am very satisfied with this. This might be now one of my favorite builds. I'm gonna re-upload this to the workshop at its current state as a 2.0. So this was a huge learning experience for me with how the UFO stuff the UFO glitches kind of work. Directional stability is just super good with UFO glitches. And speed management, speed stabilization, I think is like one of the key things that these things are really, really good for. If you just want to stop and not move when you're not doing anything, just get some of these hover pads facing each other. Now, there's probably even more to this concept that I probably just scratched the surface of it. So if you guys are more familiar than I am with it, and there's something I missed that you think deserves a follow-up video, let me know down in the comments below. But until then, I'm really happy with what I've learned in this video. So if you guys enjoyed this, you'll probably enjoy some more that you can find right here at the end screen. Hopefully this video has earned your subscription. Anyway, this has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.